One of the questions we had was about hiring 6 new police officers and not having cars for them potentially, or questions about where the cars were going to come from. Spoke to Chief Kavanaugh about that. It makes sense. Basically, with his budget, he's going to be able to buy new cars. He's got enough in the fleet to filter those down to the new guys, which is a very common practice. And he felt sure that he had adequate enough money to at least get the 6 guys up and running with hand-me-down cars.
He sat before us all year long saying, I don't have enough cars, so it's on him then.
I asked the man a question, he answered it.
That's right.
So,
I guess I'm a little concerned with the edit. It makes me a little nervous to pay salaries out of edit. I think once we do it it's a good cause. I'm not saying that stuff's not needing to be done, but I'm afraid if we open that up, we're going to have other departments, possibly police, possibly fire, look at that for salaries. Is that a concern of anybody else? Is that a valid? I guess I'm just concerned about doing it. And it might be because we've never done it before. We've always kind of preserved edit for, capital purchases, garbage trucks, help pay off some fire trucks.
That's something that I really kind of wanted to get a little guidance from the members that have been on and done these a few times. I've the same concern with using LOIT and or edit for any of those types of expenditures. But are we in uncharted waters with which the position that we're in with so much money being captured by a TIF district, which is making circuit breakers more, which the situation we're in, is that something, is it something we need to be doing? And I'd really like to hear, I understand the logic of not using it for the long term, but I'd like to hear from you guys that have done this a while and kind of get your perspective on it. Not that I'm interviewing you, but I'm...
Well, my concern is we've been very firm, especially Deloitte, no salary. It's not for the 100 series. And I still firmly believe that. Like I said, I don't know if it's ever been done in the past, but edit's been kind of it's kind of been not really a safeguard, but...
It's like a stopgap. Would you describe it as like a stopgap?
If something comes up, what makes me, I guess, nervous, and everything could be fine, I don't have a crystal ball, but if something did come up, we always kept aside money in either LOIT, or we always knew we had a little bit left in edit. If something, major capital purchase, case in point, we just had a truck that was used all the time in the street department. Of course, it was an older truck, but it was used every day, caught on fire, one of their trucks. They got I think 13,000 back. That truck has to be replaced. Their roll-off is just about on its last wheel. I think they put money away for that. And did you budget for that in edit?
yep, 200,000.
Which that's, usually edit is the larger capital purchases. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And with salaries, we're bulging at the seam in general, so let's just go ahead and go to another funding source for our salaries. It makes me nervous. We added a lot of employees this past year. We're adding 6 police officers. When you play out those numbers, look like we might be okay next year, but if something happens and then you play out for all these new employees and the raises, you see the salaries. Am I the only one that's a little apprehensive about that?
No, I'll speak up. In the past, we've never used edit as operating expenses or salaries. We've used it as capital purchases. We use it as an emergency fund. We've used it to do sidewalks and do streets. We've used it to buy garbage trucks, snow plows. We've used it to bad winters when we don't have enough salt and salt gets really expensive and have to hurry up ship salt here. We use it for that. We use it to build buildings and build parks at different times. We've used it for opportunities that arise you don't even expect. All of a sudden, boom, there's a grant. Hey, we need to have, it's a great opportunity. You can get $50,000, but you have to have a matching fund. So That's just been a philosophy that the councils since I've been on the council, that edit we've used for those types of things, sidewalks, streets, capital projects, and some emergency backups for unforeseen expenses. I'll tell you one big expense early on when I first came on the council was health insurance, because it is a self-funded plan. You never know what happens. And when we first got on there, we ended up being $500,000 short. Boom. So I'm very uncomfortable with using edit for salaries and operating expenses, and I probably won't support it. I mean, maybe I'm just old school, but that's just one thing that I think is it's best used for how we've been using it, and I think that's part of why we're so financially in a good position.
Are we
That's
talking
just my
about
opinion.
the arts administrator position and then the green team?
Green
Is that what we're
space.
talking about?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And am I reviewing this correctly in that the estimated cash balance at the end of this year would be less than the estimated cash balance at the end of the budget cycle?
That's correct. I think
So
that's
in
right.
essence, it's going to go up. The cash balance is going to go up.
Well, the key
The,
word is estimate.
And
We
the
don't
key,
have our certified, did we get
All
paid
of
by
it's
Ben checking?
estimated.
and you have to realize a lot of this has to do with what priorities that usually the council does when it comes to some of these funds, like edit, like we have a 5-year or we have a 10-year sidewalk master plan. This started in 2011. Still not completely done. We didn't fund all the projects. But from time to time, council would say, yeah, boom, let's spend another $200,000 to try to get a little further. Let's go spend another $300,000 to get that sidewalk a little bit further. So there's been times where we said, hey, if we had some extra edit money come the end of the year, let's do a little more sidewalk, or let's do a little more street paving. Now, I know it's, you didn't budget ahead of time, but if we lost a garbage truck, or if we lost, we needed an emergency of $200,000-$300,000 in a health insurance fund, it was there. But if we didn't spend it, yeah, we could extend some paving work or some sidewalk work or some other projects.
But won't our balance go up?
Traditionally, I've been against paying salaries out of the income tax monies. And if you recall, we just had a request, it was a few months ago, there was a request to pull Lloyd money for police overtime or fire overtime, one of them, and we voted against that and pulled it out of our general reserves.
But we have used it in the past for overtime, edit and load.
You mentioned that we had maybe 2012, 2011, something like that.
How far back?
The thought here was we've shifted the burden of what we've traditionally used the edit money for, being investment in parks. The $600,000 that we were going to put into paying off Worley Park next year was going to be shifted away from edit and picked up by redevelopment. And then instead of spending that $600,000, we would spend $400,000 on the green team, including the payroll. The payroll coming from the parks general fund, not the city's overall general fund. I think those expenses from a payroll standpoint are much more predictable than taking money out of Lloyd for police or fire. Also, to Mr. White's point, the balance of the fund does grow with this change over next year, and I think that Edit and Lloyd are going to be the places where we see the most growth in the funds because they're income taxes that are generated by a lot of the new jobs that are coming out of River Ridge. It is the one benefit that we get from River Ridge. Taking money from Lloyd to pay for police and fire expenses on a payroll side, I would still be against because we max out, it seems like we max out Lloyd year after year on either the 911 share or equipment for police and fire. But in Edit, we don't max out. We still increased our money that we've set aside to pave roads by $100,000. We've maintained the $500,000 for sidewalks. We've added some of the things that others would have liked to have seen with some of the arts. We've set aside a large portion of Edit, well, maybe not a large portion, but a portion of Edit to go strictly for arts. And we continue to fund new equipment in the street department, like the $200,000 for the roll-off. I don't think we're as tight in the edit money as we are everywhere else. I think
I'm
that,
not talking about being tight in it. My concern is salaries, if that'll open us up for other departments to see that as a, okay, we've got edit now that we can go after more firefighters or go after, that's my concern.
right.
Because we're hiring 6 police, but we're not hiring any firefighters, so it's, I'm just waiting for that ask after probably 2018. And we're still not, we're never gonna have enough police officers. I'm sorry, but we never will. We're not gonna have enough.
That's the other thing is, since I've been on the council there, I think that we've never hired this many new people in 1 year, except for annexation. So, I even question the need to hire, what are we hiring, 11 people? 11 new people on our payroll? That's, how many people do we have employed right now?
Where do we get 11? We have 6 police, 1 in the Parks Department,
No,
and
we
the
have.
others.
Are you talking
then one- I
about
thought
the
the green team
was
finance one
office.
and the different ones we hired this year? Or are you talking about in the proposed budget?
I thought it was in the proposed budget. How many Parks employees were there additional for the green team?
The green team is not additional money, it's just transferred payroll from Parks General to edit. It's the same employees, though.
They're just under a new.
Every year it seems like we hire 3 or 4, sometimes, 3 or 4, sometimes maybe 5. I don't even think we've ever done 5 before. Planning and zoning, finance, or parks. It just seems like us adding maybe 9 people, 8 people, I'm not sure, but it's a big number, bigger than we've ever done, other than annexation.
The edit fund would be $210,000 in the black as proposed next year. Lloyd, on the other hand, would be $196 in the black. It's a much more expensive.
So historically, what's been and this might be a question for another table, if you say, okay, as proposed, we're 200 and something thousand in the black, what's the difference in what was estimated and what was spent in other years? Does it do us any good to even look at what the proposed is? Is it basically a structural difference? Do we know that number isn't real, is what I'm asking.
Well, it looks like it was,
I think our budget is conservative. Try to rely on historically. I can tell you, administration wanted to present a balanced budget, neutral revenues, and that's one. At the end of the day, there's only so much general fund revenue there, folks. You're maxed out. And so you've got to figure out other ways to find money. You've got 3 non-general funds where there's full money. That's Lloyd, edit, you got tips. This idea was a way to use tips to offset an expenditure that's not tip, we can't use tip dollars for operating expenses. Wish we could, but we can't. So, I email us this afternoon. Unless if you continue to go thinking and doing the way it's been done in the past, you're going to continue getting reserves. You're going to make some big cuts. The other way is to think outside the box, get creative, and figure out how to get those TIF dollars help offset your expenses in your other funds.
But we haven't been losing our reserves. We've been financially.
You've been dividing your reserves the last few years.
Les, when did you send the email out? Didn't the $2 million for the Worley building come from the reserves?
We started out in 2014 was $7 million in cash reserves. We ended last year with 5.5.
And if you start,
2014, did you say?
7.
See, everything that he just stated just is the whole issue of my concern. When you're bulging at general and you keep hiring more and more employees and you're outside the box and you're doing edit and look, we're eventually going to get to a time, reserves aren't going to be here exactly like he said, but then I don't want to be leaving for our next council to make the tough decision once you don't have reserves. First time in a long time that I would know of doing layoffs because that's where we're going to head. Am I wrong in that? Am I wrong in that?
I think that is a concern when you're talking about
Because
paying salaries out of essential services. But we're not hiring police and fire out of the edit, right?
No, I'm not talking, my concern about the edit is if you open that up for the salaries, will that be, because we're in negotiations, will other departments look at, well, you know what you got? My concern is when you bring in employees on, those salaries keep growing and growing and growing and growing. Look at your police and your fire. We're going to get...
But it's ultimately the council's call if we, ever want to take police and fire salaries into edit. I mean, it's a possibility that department heads might look at that and say, oh, now we can do that. But I mean, it's not like they have the autonomy to do that.
I'm looking down the road for the next 2 or 3 or 4 years, and the council and the redevelopment's going to sit down together. You're going to have to go through the general fund and figure out what can be paid for the cap. That's where you're headed. And it can be used for a lot of these capital expenditures that are that's currently, we used to, when I was at the council, we didn't have one. We just got edited at the very last. We used to buy police cars, fire trucks.
I want to go back to your statement about the cash reserve though. Is that this you're looking at? So if we look like, it depends where you start, but if you look at 2013, we had 5.2 million reserve, 2014, 7 million, 2015, 5.1, 2016, 5.5. So, I mean, we've had, the reserves have been pretty steady. I mean, there's been some bumps up and down, but 2017 is where it goes down.
No, it doesn't. I'll explain this again. I said this last week, and I said it in my email Friday, and I said it in my email again this afternoon. This chart and graph is based on what the revenue, what the impact of cash reserves revenues would be if you adopted the budget as the department heads submitted.
Okay.
$2.1 million over. We cut it. This number now is $5.4 million.
Do we have an updated one that just shows the real presented budget?
We can get you one.
Okay, yeah, I mean, because I think that's been confusing people.
Expenditure down to the same level as your
Yeah.
for 17.
Revenue, 5 point.
Well, we can do that.
Yeah, can you do that? Because I think that's been brought up a couple times.
Yeah. So,
I thought the purpose of this was to bring up our concerns and not be, I feel like every time I say something, everybody's, it's just a concern of opening, I'm not concerned with what's being paid out of edit or the capital, and I understand the need for the green space.
So where would you recommend it come from, Lisa?
I don't know, I'm just raising, everybody asked if I had any concerns, and I'm just worried about with bulging at the general. I think we're going to be needing more people in that green space. That's going to be a humongous job, battling the weather, battling the traffic. They're putting gardens in those roundabout things out there. It's going to be,
That's not our
you got
responsibility,
to,
though,
no, that's what this green space is going to be taken care of. It's everything we inherited from, you got to weed eat around every fence post, every tree out there. Have you seen all the trees and the fencing out there? That's going to be our responsibility. I think it's going to be a huge job. We're going to have guys that are, they're going to be,
I'll tell you what I'd do.
I guess I'm just,
And I know
we're
I'm
gonna
not
need more
popular and
people.
I'm be the bad guy, but I'd hire less police officers. That's just
I
me.
don't know what the answer is, to tell
When
you.
it comes to, and I know it may not be popular, but when you look at, and I brought this up at the end of last council, that when it comes to a ratio of police officers per population, we're back to where we were prior to annexation. And in the meantime, we've added a lot of technology technological advancements in technology, from laptops to cameras and everything else. And I'm not saying we shouldn't add police or that there's not, maybe that, there's a need, but like as Lisa said, you can almost, never have enough police officers. Sometimes you just can't get everything that you ask for or the total number, but that's just me.
If we didn't add the total amount of police officers, then we would still be needing to shift those parks employees to the general fund instead of the parks. Is that the suggestion? To shift the green team employees out of the parks general fund to the 100 or 101 fund?
The other thing, and this has dawned on me too, can we not change the rate of the parks
Conservative edit with the
tax rate, the levy? So you can shift the levy in the parks to contemplate an increase, rather than playing this game of moving stuff from general fund to parks because we want to have all these events and we want to have all the maintenance and everything, which is great, but we could just officially shift the levy.
Maybe if I look back on the edit stuff. I think that was in his presentation when
Well, and I don't know enough to speak intelligently about what it takes to change a levy, but if that's the way we're spending it, that's what I would want to look into anyways. What would it take to change it? Because I'm more comfortable with the fewer games we have to and maybe sometimes are forced to play in with these accounts and shifting money. If we could set it up just the way that it reflects more closely reality, I would be for changing the levy. But again, I don't know what that means when we say we're going to do that. I do not know. But if it was a easy hurdle to cross, I would be for that.
Are you talking about raising the tax rate?
Shifting it from one to the other.
Moving the levy so it would better reflect what reality is.
If we do that, where does it take money from?
It would take it out of the general fund.
So it shrinks the general fund.
You can shift, $500,000 over to Parks Fund. Comes out of the general.
yeah.
Or it comes out of
Well,
the-
he's talking,
or it
if you
comes
cut
out of the-
police officers, then you get
We hired
That's all
three.
just, however you want to.
But then those lines stay, wherever those lines are, as the budget grows, the funds increase proportionally, how you draw those lines. I still think that, I think Lisa makes a good point about opening doors for other departments.
We just need to be mindful of
But
that.
when we, I think that's our decision to make. That if we're brought a proposal to hire police officers out of edit, to me that doesn't seem rational in the sense that police and fire have an income tax dedicated solely to them. That would be a rational reason not to use edit dollars for police and fire, because they have a whole other set of income taxes dedicated to public safety.
But it's already appropriated out too.
And it's maxed out. And so if they wanted to use income taxes for payroll, the question would have to be put to them, well, are you going to be satisfied with less new equipment year after year? And I think if there was a way to identify a capital expense out of the general fund that we could shift to redevelopment, that would be another option too. But I just don't see where there's a big ticket item that can be shifted. This one, I mean, it's out of edit, but it's a one-time expense that can contribute to the Parks Department.
Is there any equipment the Parks Department wants in this budget that maybe we could shift that to an edit at one time?
I don't know that there are equipment line items, but I don't know that there is a specific large ticket items. If we wanted to just take the equipment line items out of the Parks General Fund and move it to edit, that might be an easier way to shift, so that we're still making capital expenses out of the income tax.
And have the salary come out of parks?
Uh-huh.
Parks still under $100,000.
I'd be more comfortable with that.
Well, the green space has an equipment line too, right, for 40,000?
Yeah, that doesn't bother me, 'cause
Right,
that's
yeah.
one-time major,
We'll keep
you know,
that in
that's,
that.
yeah.
Keep it in edit.
I mean,
You have 100,000 and 40,000 for vehicles on page 20 of parks.
right.
But I would assume that that's the incur that expense for equipment every year. I would assume.
And there's the transfer out line. The transfer out goes to fund the river stage. If you want to take that 200,000 out of edit as a transfer out, along with the equipment and the vehicles, I mean, you're getting up there close to that 400,000. Pull that out of edit and leave the employees where they are in the 204 fund. Does that make sense?
Still about,
I would be more comfortable with that, because we could always pare down any given year for having, I'd be more comfortable with that.
Does that sound like a better idea?
we'll have to come up with,
Yeah,
That's
and
just-
and I think that'll really, that we can really keep an eye on the salary part of it, and especially moving forward. I'm just trying, I don't want to bring employees on and not being able to, they can work here as long as they need to work here.
so about 65,000 shy
For
to get to the 400.
to get to 400. And okay, and there's this, the 400,000 was not all for payroll. It was like 240,000 for payroll. So if we can shift these capital expenses into edit and then leave the extra 200,000 for the equipment that the green team was going to depend on, then we probably can get a little closer to leveling out the parks budget. We're just going to have to itemize it a little bit more specifically in edit, so that this breakdown is still reflected. But we can make that change.
Because the equipment's one and done. If they need more equipment, we can
Right.
always look, but the employees, it just keeps growing.
That can work.
Did you all say the improvements? Or we're not talking about
Equipment and vehicles.
There's also in motor equipment supplies, I don't know if that, it's just 15,000, third line from the top. I don't know if you want to,
fixing the supplies that fix their vehicles at the current.
okay, so keep those in.
It's not anything new purchases.
So let's do,
What page are you on?
starting on page 20, we're going to do improvements, equipment, vehicles, and transfer out. Move those 4 items.
295, right?
Can you say it one more time?
What's that
Eddie?
put us to total, Scotty?
That'll put you to 495.
495.
Improvements also.
Can you say them again?
Page 20,
Oh, yeah,
improvements,
395, yeah. I didn't carry it.
equipment,
Equipment.
vehicles, and the transfer out. It's right under equipment.
Oh. Okay, and the transfer out,
Uh-huh.
and do what?
We're going to move those items to the edit fund. Does that put us beyond where we wanted to be?
395.
395 is what you got there.
We'll have to look at edit.
And then we can move back to edit, which is page
51.
maybe 52,
Mm.
Department 505 green space. Would take basically everything except groundskeeping supplies, contractual services, and equipment, and move back the 204 fund.
Did you say 393 or 395?
395.
5.
And it was grounds, supplies, what were the other ones?
Contractual services and equipment.
And those stay in.
Those stay in edit.
These are gonna, I'm getting your math on these.
We're keeping 173, 70.
Those, if you add all those up, you're at 226, 300.
226 for what we left.
No, for what you took.
Okay.
You said take
So you'll have an extra.
general labor down to, what are we taking out?
All the way down to-
Empress.
Yeah, we're keeping the last three.
Yeah, then if you take it all the way down to Empress, you're 226, 300,
And what did we remove?
395, 395,000.
And that's a difference of,
Surplus of 168,700.
Can't go
which
backwards
puts our
on that
parks
there.
budget
Almost.
back to solvency, I think.
I think you're like 2,000 away.
It was
Yeah.
like once, yeah.
Good job. See, teamwork, I like it.
I feel a lot better about it. I know y'all
Looking
kind of looked
back.
at me like, wow, but it's like,
Understanding that we're going to use more than 400,000 in edit, it's still not going to hit that 600,000 mark that we would have paid, that redevelopment will cover. But, sweet.
well, we can always look at it a little bit more and try to figure something out.
All right.
We're still paying for one salary on the edit, right?
Well, I think there was the, art administrator was set to come out of the edit money.
That was oh no, never mind.
Okay, so,
Which that's coming out of that money that through ordinance is saved back so that
right. So,
we can always lower that percentage in the future if we need to.
well, if you look on page 51, there's a line that says transfer out. It's 90,453. That transfer out is to the Public Arts Fund, which is 271, which is on page,
Kind of more than cover.
yeah, somewhere. On page 36, and it's out of the Public Arts Fund that the 50,000 is there for the administrator, plus
Plus the
her Social Security and that kind of thing. So technically, she's being paid by edit funds because that's what funds the Public Art Fund, but she's not directly under edit.
There's enough money in that fund that
Right.
could be taken from other sources to
Right.
pay for her salary.
Yeah. And then in the future, we,
So there's more than, wait, I need to repeat what I just said. So we're transferring in the 90,000, but there are other funds that would cover her salary that already exist in the public arts to be able to not have to solely rely on those funds to pay her salary.
you're taking it out of that percentage that we take out for,
It's like
yeah.
8%.
It's like
What-
five-
what other
I forget
funds?
what the percent,
Am I correct in that?
Oh.
That's
No, we're-
purely funded by edit.
yeah,
And
out of the
isn't
money
there-
that we set back for public
Oh,
art.
there's grants.
As I really,
But that's
you know, and I think
that's
we
a
could.
salary though
I-
that we're paying with edit.
That, yeah, well, that's where, but that's money that we've already, that we're capturing for arts anyhow.
So how do we
The
remedy
goal,
that?
Yeah.
Current pay is contracted at 60
Mhm.
Going to the, as a city employee would be at $50,000, plus the social security and interest that we would have to pay on that is a total of $61,000. So moving her from a contracted worker to an employee of the city costs $1,000.
And if we don't want to do that in edit, we could take her salary out of QCAP.
For contracts, it'd be 5,000.
Yeah, so it was less. But what I'm thinking is, as we get going with her as an employee, working with the Lynn, they're going to go after bigger grants. So we could, if we get tight in edits, we can always take that, amend that ordinance and take their percentage down, rather than getting, what was the percentage in that ordinance? Is it 5%?
3.
No.
3%?
Here it is.
3?
3 or 4.
So,
I'm still trying to wrap my
I
head
think
around,
Yeah, so we
I'm
have
trying to get them to get more
30.
grants and
I'm
not
trying to
use
wrap
edit
my
dollars.
I think I have
trying
some
to wrap my
questions.
head around that
So-
you're
Yeah.
paying for a salary with edit, and that was our big discussion.
Yeah.
No, we did it because of the contract employee at the time. It was not an employee, it was a contract. So
We're
'cause they
paying for somebody
canceled-
to work for the city with edit dollars, and that was the whole source of our conversation just now.
You talking about in the future or in 2016? Like-
2017.
You mean 2017?
Well, this year,
She was not
apparently
employed.
last year, and next year, we're still going to be paying for somebody's salary through edit.
It was contract work, wasn't employee.
That's
but
where
now
I'm
it is
sorry.
employee.
Let me get my words right. We're paying for somebody to work for the city through edit, which is what I think was discussion was
There
we
are
don't
other
want to do that.
contractual services that come through it as well.
I mean, I think it was, we didn't want a city employee being paid out of edit, not that we minded paying people who work for the city through edit.
But she
When-
will be.
I don't think that was this.
When we
Oh,
started, when we.
The way that Les explained it to me made sense, because you recommended her coming out edit, because that's where her contract was paid out of, plus it's money already being captured for the arts.
I mean, we pay for
Coming out of their arts
contractual
money.
services for the Greenway, we pay for
Okay.
contractual services
All right.
for the green space.
let's,
for the park.
let's bring it on back. Let's bring it on back. So, if we can all go to page 40, I believe Mr. Samuel had made the request that the employee being paid would come out of CUNCAP. We have $70,000 marked as a transfer out of CUNCAP. And if I'm remembering correctly, Mr. Samuel's suggestion was that 70,000 would cover the employee's salary and would need to be transferred into the public art fund. So it would be the 90,000 plus the 70,000. I'm not saying that that's what I think we should do, but I do believe that that was his suggestion.
But as it's here right now, we're transferring 90,000 out from edit into public arts, where 50,000 of that will be a salary of an employee.
That's what's written,
And the whole
yes.
conversation was, we don't want to pay salaries with edit. So, I mean, are we picking and choosing which ones we want to?
No. What happened was, this was a new employee, it was a new concept we never had before. So we said, how do we do this? And we said, okay, how about we just contract it out 1 year, see how it works. So it was a one-time, okay, how are we going to pay for this one-time contract? Edit. Well, we ended up renewing the contract, and now we're talking about going, hey, it's working, so now this person is going to become an employee. It's not like it was an employee to begin with. It was a contract that had an end, and we could just let it end and never renew it.
Which is what?
But
Right.
she'll be an employee in 2017.
Right, so
Yeah,
now
we need
moving
to look
forward,
that up.
that is correct.
But-
That is a dilemma moving
I
forward.
guess I'm not following, because we're transferring 90,000 out, and 50,000 that will be the employee salary.
I think we're trying to find a way to have that not be the case. Is that
Are we?
correct?
Yes,
I think so.
and Nathan recommended CUMCAP.
And that's what I recommend, but then
Well, now
Les
I'm,
made sense what he was saying about
now I'm
take
rereading.
it out of the arts.
We were just trying to avoid doing much transfers.
Just why?
Going over substance.
Well, is there another line item under parks where we can do what we just did? Included under that? Or is that a bad idea?
I think it's a good idea.
If you can find one. Again, I think the suggestion was CUMCAP.
So why are we, what will that 70,000 that's being transferred to the city council be used for?
Well, right, if we didn't use it for the art administrator, I don't think there was any budgeted purpose.
Oh.
Except,
I thought
isn't
we
that
were-
where City Pride comes from?
Isn't
I thought we had like
doesn't it fund the art
$100
projects?
Surplus for city.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
That's what
it
it's
funds the
for.
art projects, murals, paintings,
CUMCAP does?
no, the edit.
Edit.
That-
That's why it was set up the way it was when you all did the ordinance for the
That's right.
edit, for the percentage council edit, was to help not only with her contract costs, but also for projects. They've been using that for projects all along.
Right,
Well, they're using the other one, but that is for big projects.
because she's not a department head or a budgeted department, so that was used for her expenses to do projects.
And maintenance.
Yeah, and maintenance of existing art projects.
Because if you recall that mural, when that mural got destroyed, you all had to pay out of the council budget for that $100 a gallon paint to preserve that. So that's why, one of the reasons when you all did that. I remember that.
Les, it might be beneficial for you to explain why making her an employee, the administration, because of the, we might be getting some issues with her contract because she's doing more and more.
Yeah. Records be recorded, but
Would you like for me to?
no, I just think that, and this happens a lot in private business, people believe that they can call someone an independent contractor and just magically make it different. You have to meet certain criteria legally to be a contractor. Based on what I've been told, what she's doing a lot of work beyond the scope of the
Contract.
Usually it opens up to liability.
Are we,
And they recommended that she become an employee to save the city having some possible
are we
issues.
able to transfer out building materials and groundskeeping supplies to edit?
Groundskeeping should have been already transferred, was it not?
No, you got 45,000 in groundskeeping, you got 25,000 in building, that's 70,000.
We can do that. I guess another question then is, the 90,000 out of edit, is that, if we find her salary somewhere else, are we leaving 90,000 to go into the arts fund for projects and maintenance?
What was the issue with CUMCAP?
We can't reduce it unless we change that ordinance, because the ordinance says we give a
What was
percentage.
the issue with CUMCAP?
I didn't think there was an issue.
Yeah, why don't we just do CUMCAP?
I mean, we have a cash balance of 353,000
Yeah,
Right.
CUMCAP.
that's where another place.
Not that I'm saying we should decrease our cash balance,
And it's
but
the
we're only transferring out 70,000 of that fund.
And it's the Cumulative Capital Improvement Fund, 301, that we're talking about transferring from.
What page are on?
Right.
40, I think.
I'm looking at the summary page in the front to find the balance of that fund.
Right. So we can reduce that 70,000 that's budgeted to 65 and mark it as a transfer into the Public Art Fund and not have to worry about messing with any more parks money.
Do we do that on top of the 90?
That 90's there by ordinance.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, so the 90.
That's why they,
But that 90's for maintenance and.
Saying it's better to have it under
Projects.
parks?
No, it's better to budget where the money is.
Instead of shifting.
But the 90 stays put regardless of where, if we transfer it.
Yep.
yeah.
For now.
Okay, so you're talking about taking,
So on page 40, we're going to transfer out to Fund 271.
That's 70,000.
No, we're gonna reduce it to 65. Or what is it, 61?
61
Total, everything?
for today, or for 2017.
Does that include, are you talking
A
about
raise?
insurance?
That's everything
That's the Social Security interest and $50,000
salary.
Insurance?
insurance doesn't come out of each fund, it comes out of the general fund.
Right. So 61,000
So the 70,000 figure,
is gonna
It's going-
reduce to 61.
and instead of going to the council, it's going to the ARC.
Yes.
Parks.
And if the council still needs that money, there's a balance there.
Gotcha.
All right. Next topic is world hunger. If you go to page,
Did you say world hunger?
I mean, we're fixing everything else, why not? It's working out.
Conflict in the Middle East.
Smile a little bit, Miss Conlon.
Wait, I'm reading flag.
What else we got? This is the best budget session I've ever been in. I'm happy.
I think we're good to go.
Best one out of them was Phil McCollins, when Phil McCollins came in and told us what it would be.
Oh, yeah?
We were in there for 10 minutes,
Oh, really?
and it worked.
Really? Wow. What else we got? We've only been here 52 minutes. What else do we got? So,
Were there any other
I mean, it-
items that Nathan had pointed out that we haven't mentioned? Look at the email again.
Any concerns pop out to anybody else as they were going through it? Besides,
I don't have Nathan's email or Les's response or anybody else's response.
He doesn't have the
I don't
email that went
have
out.
Nathan's email and I don't have Les's response or anyone else's response.
oh, he's got a Joshua
I just responded to me.
Rodriguez at AT&T.net.
No, that's an old one, it's J. Rodriguez.
When Nathan Samuel sent it out, he didn't
He
send
sent
it to
you-
you right
he
in.
sent
He
it.
sent the old one you had years ago.
I bet no.
years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're listed as that, I mean, it says Josh Rodriguez got it.
Just wrong email.
Yep.
You mean have it.
What do you mean
It
years
happened to you
ago?
too, Lisa, didn't it? Where they were using your other email?
They cut all the
It took
wires.
2
Yeah,
years
so
from
now
mine,
everybody
right?
sends it to both my
Both
personal
emails?
and city, because hopefully
Yes.
one or the other, I'll get it. For some reason, if somebody sends from city email, I don't get it in my, but it'll
Yep.
go
Let
in my
Nathan
city.
know that to use your city email.
Yep.
Josh, you want me to forward it to you right now?
Yep.
Yeah, I just want to look at it.
There it goes.
So, considering then, because there may be some of the things that Nathan and Les wrote back and forth about that might jog some questions for Josh also. Let's talk about what our next step is. We talked about still meeting. No, we didn't. I lied. We've got several days planned if we want to get together again.
what did you all take out of Cume Capital Improvement Fund?
There is 70,000 budgeted. We're gonna,
For what, though? For what?
it's gonna be moved as a transfer to the 271 fund for Don's salary.
And not to the city council.
Well, I'm sorry, that's not correct. It is a transfer out into the 271 fund. The fund cumulatively includes the public art administrator. Cume Cap funds are not exclusively paying her salary.
Statute lists specifically what the cumulative capital improvement funds.
Is public art one?
I agree with you. Small print.
If not, we can designate line items and satisfy.
That was my, I knew
It-
certain funds, it was when it has no
Yeah.
located for any legally permissible purpose. Require land or rights of ways to be used for public ways or sidewalks, construct and maintain public ways or sidewalks, to acquire land or right of ways for the construction of sanitary and storm sewer for both, construct and maintain sanitary and storm sewer for both, to acquire by purchase or lease or to pay all part of the purchase price of the utility, purchase or lease land buildings or right of ways for the use of any utility that is required or operated by the unit, to purchase or acquire land with or without buildings for park or recreation purposes, purchase, lease, or pay all or part of the purchase price of motor vehicles for the use of any combination of the police, community corrections program, or the fire department, including ambulances, firefighting vehicles, necessary equipment, ladders, and hoses. To retire, to require general obligation bonds, purchase or lease equipment and other non-consumable personal property needed by the unit for any public transportation. And then, provision for this for Indianapolis. And then it goes on to purchase, upgrade, or repair computer software, computer hardware, wiring and computer networks, communication access systems, pay for the service of all full-time or part-time computer maintenance employees, conduct non-recurring in-service technology training to employees, and to purchase products.
So can you buy public art with it?
That sounds like a no.
What if the public art is part of the sidewalk?
She works with a computer.
Part of the parks.
Can we get her an IT certification real quick?
So,
So you can't buy
So you
public
can't
art.
transfer art out, do a transfer it out. We used to Cume Cap was fine earlier.
No, I didn't.
Oh, somebody did. I thought.
they just took a while to find it. Find it the hard way.
Everybody loves a lawyer.
All right, back to it.
So how is it problematic if we remove some things from parks? It's problematic because then we have to pay for those things through edit? Explain what you said, it's easier to budget where the money is.
Because what they call it, fuel.
Board of Accounts has always said you budget where the money is. You're a taxpayer paying for something that you budgeted in the fund for that, so unless you have specific funds, like we have a specific public arts fund that gets funded from other areas, then whatever public arts is you budget there. But moving money from like capital development and trying to shore up the parks general fund, that kind of stuff is really in your funds and that's not quite proper. And so transferring it to public arts is one thing, but if you're moving it from other funds, it's not. It's always best to budget things where the money is, rather than moving it around back and forth.
How much do you need?
61,000.
So is it problematic to fund the arts administrator under
The
Parks
204
fund?
fund?
Hmm?
The 204 fund?
It's not problematic.
It's just weird. Because you're a public arts fund. It's just not.
Yeah, same thing as the, I mean, I completely understand what you mean by, that's why we shifted the green team originally and budgeted where the money was at,
Right.
rather than having it transfer from edit to parks and having to stay in the parks.
Gotcha.
That was more proper than, but if you wanted to shift those salaries to the parks fund, that's no problem at all. They're being paid from parks money.
So,
The 300,000 for contractual services,
What page you on, Dustin?
page 20. If we utilize $61,000 of that, and
well, we're moving her from from a contractual employee or a contractual worker to,
yeah, not as a contractor, I mean, using $61,000 of that for the salary.
well, they're expected to spend,
Heather,
What they spent last year
on page 20,
well,
Um,
2015, they spent $280,000.
professional services,
They're,
is that 36,000 the
they've
city
already
partner?
spent 166.
So they were going to spend 300,000.
Yeah.
Did we remove his contractual services out of the Parks Department when we added him as an employee?
He would not have gotten paid as much out of the 204 fund as he would have gotten paid out of the 240 and the 209 fund, because that's where his revenues go.
So that 36,000 is not for him? Okay, never mind.
And you've got to look at that contractual service too, Dustin. That's just through 6/30 of 16. And they've used more since then. I mean, you've got, if I had all the contracts, I could tell you, but,
I know some of them, the recent ones, I can remember from claims, they've used Stemler a lot for, I know they're paid out. Stemler, I know their pest control stuff in the different buildings comes out of that.
there's a lot that comes out of that.
Yeah, it's more than their maintenance stuff that they contract out for.
So if we moved motor equipment supplies and groundskeeping supplies, that's 60,000?
Yes. No, building materials and supplies, I'm sorry. On page 19, the very bottom. Groundskeeping supplies on the top of page 20.
Oh, okay.
We're looking at 70,000.
Okay.
If you did those,
That's a couple $1,000 we were looking for earlier. So we want to move those to edit?
Where's the groundskeeping?
groundskeeping's on the top of page 20.
You didn't know what groundskeeping, what was the other one you said?
Now, what are you moving to edit?
So,
Okay.
The bottom of page 19, building materials and supplies is 25,000.
What'd you say? Move it to edit?
Yeah. That is the top.
And the top of page 20 is groundskeeping supplies for 45,000 to edit. And then we will add the art administrator and all of her line items. Her social security, Empress, and whatnot
To Parks Fund.
to the 204 fund,
so,
For the amount of,
61,000 total. Is that a, she's already got it in the record.
Well, I mean,
What was your idea?
well, we have an IT budget, and a QCAP improvement fund. I mean, he's got $50,000 in his software hardware, another $10,000 for computer software maintenance fees. We have to free up, use the QCAP, pay for those, and free up money out of the general fund, shift over to, pay for
But then where would she fall? Would you have to transfer it? Which is,
So you're saying shift levy to the Parks Fund?
To get your money, to get money from the general fund over to pay her in parks.
oh,
That would be a shift of the levy.
Wouldn't be much.
Or do whatever you, you've got a fund there that's very limited to what you could use it for. I mean, if you look at that statute,
I kind of agree with Les on
there's
this
not a
one.
whole lot you can do with it. I mean, because, police vehicles and fire vehicles is one option, but you've shifted all that over to Lloyd, so that really doesn't help you. I guess you potentially free up Lloyd money to use it down the road. Just a suggestion.
I think there could go either way.
Am I wrong in,
Either way.
didn't we mention earlier that edit is primarily used for like large one-time purchases?
Yeah.
I just don't see like these small groundskeeping supplies as being large one-time purchases that
So you like
lend
Les's
itself for
idea?
edit. I think it makes more sense to utilize QCAP for IT.
I
Feel the same way.
agree. Brilliant, Les, brilliant.
I mean,
Okay, what page is
He let us
that?
down earlier, so he had to redeem himself. I'm just kidding.
I wasn't sold on that deal.
So we're gonna
Try to make it work.
scrap the last two
agree, let's
changes.
Yep.
What's the effect of shifting the levy?
Okay, so we're gonna scrap
Is
that
there-
now.
Any kind of ramification for that?
Okay.
As a
Mark,
whole,
scrap
it's all
this.
still there, it's just moving it from one fund to the other. In the background, rather, you don't lose it, no.
I don't want to be counted 2.0.
No, you don't lose it, it's still the whole pie.
Yeah, happy we're not in those budget sessions today.
Does it change it doesn't change the tax rate anyway?
It does change the tax rate individually fund-wise, but
Right.
not as a whole.
So in the future, the tax rates would be different? The general fund
If
tax
you
rate would...
looked at, if you shifted some of that levy, and it could potentially, if you're looking at your property tax increase for one particular fund,
Mhm.
you'll have this wonky bit, because some of it looks like the tax rate actually went down, but it really didn't go down for the general fund, it's really going,
It's
higher
basically
in
just
another.
percentages, right? We're
Just percentage.
We're saying instead of, 75% or whatever is going to general, now we're just going to have 72% go to general, and that 3% will go somewhere else.
Exactly.
So you're talking about taking
It
on
does.
page 11, correct?
City tax rate to 35 cents goes to parks, 5 cents goes to the general fund. Now, if you shift it, parks
On
gets
page
36
11,
cents.
move
General
the
fund gets 64 cents, but the amount is still the same.
Right.
The tax rate is the same. It's just that you break it down to the two different, the different
any other
funds.
money?
I think you.
And the next year, if you wanted to move it and make this 34 and make this 66, you do that.
Do that during the budget.
You just have to do it every year at a budget session. You could tweak those and move it around.
Okay. What page is IT? It's
11.
11.
Thank you.
Moving it to
To
QCAP.
Parks 204 fund again, right?
No,
What?
that
No, that's going to
$10,000
QCAP.
was going to the Cume Capital Improvement
Yeah.
Fund. Your-
Yes, I'm sorry. The money currently in IT for software and hardware at $50,000,
Yes.
computer software maintenance, that's going to be shifted over to the Cume Cap
Improvement,
Improvement Fund.
Which is,
Fund 301.
Okay, and that will free up 50,000 or 60,000
In the,
To be put into parks.
to
You'd be in the general, then shift it to parks.
Shift the levy of 60,000 operating to parks.
You're going to find the extra 1,000?
No, it'll come out of Nathan's. He's our art guru.
And then all of Dawn's payroll is coming out, is being deleted from 271, correct?
right,
Mm-hmm.
deleted from 271 and put back into the 204 fund. When I ran for city council, I was really hoping I could decide which fund the public art administrator would get paid from.
Yeah, me too.
Got it done.
Now what are you gonna do?
I know. Mission accomplished. Got 3 more years.
You want us to caucus
What else is there, what else is there to do?
Planning gets a new printer.
I appreciate Matt's effort.
What, Heather?
Do you want to add any budget to the parks, to this public arts 271? Or do you want to leave it the way that it is? Because now it's only, out of the 99,000 that you're putting in, or 90,000 somewhere.
90.
It's got, 38,000 budgeted.
I'm sure they'll find a way to spend it.
Right, but do you want to add to that, or do you not want to add to that?
What
So they'll keep growing cash.
I would defer to the, I think we should get with Nathan and see what they have, what the commission has planned.
And if needed, you can do additional.
Would
Does that
probably
violate
be,
the ordinance?
I'm sorry?
Does that violate the ordinance?
No, because the funds are still transferred from edit to the 271 fund. If we don't appropriate it all, it'll just grow. The cash balance will grow, and
Explaining in layman terms what you just said.
which probably
Oh,
would
got it
be,
now, too.
which probably would be the smarter thing to do, because most of these art things are very expensive, and they need to grow that cash balance. But I'm sure they'll have other ideas.
Vandalism.
I know they're gonna go after
Oh, I'm just
bigger
thinking, if you're
grants.
not gonna use her, that money that you're deleting her, okay, so if you- and that leaves, what, 38,000 she said, so if you still got on that edit transfer $90,000,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's still not, am I not mistaken? I mean, if you're deleting money and there's 38,000 here, you still got the 90,000 in edit, correct?
The 90,000 gets transferred here, to here.
Right. The 90 gets transferred there, how's it still leave it with 38,000?
38,000 appropriated,
That's all that's appropriated out of the 90.
so the rest of the 90 would just sit in the fund.
Because we'd have to do additional appropriation to spend.
I know,
Yeah. So if a project comes up, then we just do that?
So basically what Matt's saying is, I mean, if they decide they have projects in mind that they want us to appropriate that to, then that's the conversation Nathan should have with the Arts Commission. Right?
That's kind of what I heard.
Okay.
All right.
Well, by the time we do our third vote on this budget, it may be appropriated.
Yeah.
seriously.
They probably have their 2017 plan.
Nathan will tell us about some of the great stuff they're doing, and he'll ask
It's a
for the
slideshow.
Dawn can come do a PowerPoint, I'm sure she's got plans.
Oh, yeah.
She loves a good PowerPoint. No, she did video last time. That was-
Anything else?
And that Dave Simpson, bringing him into as an employee, being paid all out of parks, so his,
Yep. All right, we've made it past an hour, so we can quit anytime. Yep. Yep. Usually,
we gotta do our due diligence. We did it for an hour.
So, council meeting on the 6th, we have workshop with redevelopment before that.
Oh, so we don't have the noon? We switched it to the afternoon? I didn't hear anything back, so is that good?
Did redevelopment agree with the, okay, well, nobody told me, so I didn't know.
I didn't know
I
either.
hadn't ordered the food yet. so
I didn't ask. We're doing it at
I don't
5
know.
or 4?
5 is what I got down.
Yeah, we did it at 5,
For when is this?
the 6th.
On the 6th. We got a budget at 5 and then a council at
Budget's canceled.
Week from tomorrow.
Workshop. We've
Oh,
been doing
but yeah,
the
the five.
redevelopment at
Yeah.
5.
Yes.
I still have to be here at 5 o'clock.
Yes.
Call
Okay,
it
all
long.
right, that's all I need to know.
So
then we
September
have a council
7th,
meeting at
But we
we're
do
not
need to
doing
still
that 6
confirm
o'clock
with,
workshop, we're doing a 5 o'clock redevelopment.
like,
right?
Brian Colton and all them. We still need to confirm that.
Right. I have a council workshop down for that day at 6.
Yeah, that was a
So
budget
that
workshop.
for us?
Not sure, I'm back on the email jar right now, so.
Okay.
That's at 5.
And then we have still the 7th and 8th at 6 o'clock.
They're on there.
Okay.
Do we need them? Do we want to keep one and scrap one, or?
Budget workshop?
Yeah,
There's no, I don't think you'll need them, but you might as well keep them on there. I mean, what harm does it do to keep them on there?
Can you
As hard
send
as
an
we all want
invite
to
out
get
to the redevelopment?
No. I sent an e-bite out to
No, I said, can you, please?
who?
You usually send the invites out so
For
I
what?
get...
For the 5 o'clock?
Mhm.
He said he was taking care of it.
Oh,
Because
okay.
I don't know who all in redevelopment is coming.
Oh, that's a
Yeah.
good point.
Well, if we are gonna keep one of those, I would prefer it to be the 8th. I'm actually out of town, so.
so would I.
All right, mark it off.
So I can cancel the 7th.
I'll be back in the 8th. Steamboat days is pretty bad.
You're going to keep the meeting on the 8th?
Yes, cancel the 7th.
Would you like from us?
That graph redone?
Okay.
And then if we can just get the changes that we've made today, clean copies. We don't need to have to reprint the whole binder, just the changes so that we can switch them out.
Okay. New summary sheet.
I think that would be great. Is there anything else? We want to keep that on the 8th, just in case there are other questions that you think of between now and then. So, all right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Adjourn?